Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Good news, hot off the presses. It's the brand new issue of The Weekly Hero is here. I'm, of course, one of your hosts. My name's John Campea, and joining me, of course, is Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing?
I am doing great. Another great week. I love being back here in the studio because, as I said, you are my superhero for providing this incredible venue.
It's a lot of fun doing them here. And by the way, guys, I don't know if you noticed, we got a new third party joining us here. We've got a new co-host. Right here. There he is. We got Baby Groot joining us here. And, of course, another little something that Robert's brought in for us to talk about. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. All right, guys, we got a whole bunch of things to talk about here in the world of comic book movies and TV shows and stuff. So we're going to get started with this. It was announced a little while ago that in the midst of this killer row of movies opening between December 14th and 21st, this like 8-day window of death, where you've got Peter Jackson's Mortal Engines, you've got Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, you've got Mary Poppins, you got Bumblebee, you got Aquaman, you got Holmes and Watson, you got Welcome to Marwen, you've got... In the midst of all that, they announced that also on December 21st, they were re-releasing an untitled Deadpool movie, which word kind of got out pretty quickly that it was probably going to be a PG-13 cut of Deadpool 2. Well, we now got a lot more information. Number one, the official title of this thing is Once Upon a Deadpool. Number two, they have moved the release date from December 21st to December 12th, and it will only run for 12 days to Christmas Eve, and they're calling it the 12 Days of Deadpool. Also, yes, they did set up a bunch of framing scenes with Deadpool and now adult Fred Savage playing off of The Princess Bride, where I guess they're going to be going back and forth between the movie and that, framing the scenes. Sounds incredible. And most importantly, $1 from every movie ticket sold is going to the charity Fuck Cancer, which for the purposes of the PG-13 release has been changed to Fudge Cancer. So that is now going on. So got all this information now. Robert, you hear about all this kind of stuff. Is this, we've certainly never really seen anybody do anything like this. Is this just like a dumb kind of gimmick shtick, or could this actually be something really cool?
I think it's both.
Right, a little bit of both.
Not since the 70s when they recut Saturday Night Fever into a PG-13 movie. No, first of all, I think it's so bananas and Deadpool that they're doing this at all.
It is so Deadpool.
And they were raising that pink Deadpool costume you could enter a contest on, and I actually have a pink Fuck Cancer Darth Vader bust.
Oh, that's
it's
awesome.
A plastic. I should bring it in one day. And they did it for cancer. And first of all, the idea that they're doing a Princess Bride riff is so hilariously funny to me. Like, of all the movies they could parody, the Princess Bride, pretty brilliant, I would say, but who greenlit that? That had to have been something Ryan Reynolds came up with. I really am curious because now, they released the extended version on Blu-ray.
That's right.
The fucking whatever version,
right.
What the name of it is.
I've never even seen it yet. I still haven't seen it. I've heard great things.
It's really good. If you like Deadpool 2, I actually think it's even better than the theatrical version.
And I love Deadpool 2.
It's crazy that there's now a third cut of Deadpool. I mean, how many movies have 3 cuts of them? But I do think it's pretty wacky and pretty funny, but for a good cause. I mean, I think whoever came up with the idea, it must be lauded because that's some crazy shit.
And really, when you think about it, the amount of money it probably cost them to put this thing together is probably pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Because you got, look, Deadpool, this Once Upon a Deadpool is not going to make $60 million in a re-release in the same year that it was already out. But you know what? I bet it's going to make significantly more than what it costs for them to put this thing together.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, Savage and Ryan Reynolds shot all their framing shots in one day.
Right.
They just pulled them together, very guerrilla filmmaker style, shot it all in one day, did some fancy cutting. Now, here's the question, though. Over, under, let me give you an over-under number here. Over, under 15 and a half. Over, under 15 and a half. The number of times they make a PG-13 joke directly related to the Disney takeover of Fox. 15 and a half times they make jokes about it. Over or under that?
over.
You know what? And I think you're right.
I think over.
Okay, that's a big number, and I still think you're right.
I mean, it's so. What's funny is that did it get officially rated? Like, has it been sent to the ratings board? They said they were making it PG.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, do they have to actually? Because it has to go to the MPAA.
I guess
it has
it does.
to get rated. I mean, wouldn't it be funny if they sent it in for a rating and it got rated R anyway? I mean, I'm sure
it'd be funny. What if they sent in for rating and came back with a PG instead of a PG-13 when they've been pushing the PG-13 rating?
It would be hilarious.
So this could be really funny. You know, I had somebody ask me earlier when I was doing the John Campea show about, do you think this could start a trend? Like, I mean, because look, from a financial point of view, we've already talked about it. It costs them bus fare to put this thing together.
Right.
They're going to make some money. What I said at the time, and I want to know if you agree or disagree with this and what your point of view on this would be. I said, well, you know, it reminds me of the conversation about Deadpool's marketing. Because the Deadpool, especially Deadpool 1, the marketing campaign was beyond genius. And you had a lot of people saying, well, why don't more movies do things like that? And what we would say at the time was, well, because not every movie is Deadpool.
Right.
Like, it takes a movie that is as unique as Deadpool that a marketing campaign like that would actually work for. You try to do that kind of a marketing campaign with a lot of other movies, it just comes across as ridiculous. And I kind of feel the same way about this Once Upon a Deadpool thing. It's like, there are certain movies, and Deadpool 2 is one of them, that you can do something ridiculous like this with and get away with it. I'm not so sure if the average Hollywood film, you can say the same about the average Hollywood film. I just don't know you could do it. Could other films mimic something like this?
Well, I think you're right. I think it shouldn't become the norm because a movie is a movie, you know,
Right.
and we all like to still think of movies as art. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's something about artistic integrity. I think Deadpool is a unique case. I also think that we might be seeing some interesting marketing along with it, maybe for Dark Phoenix, or they'll do something like, wouldn't it be funny if there's a post-credit sequence that we don't know about?
Well, remember,
that has,
in the original release of Deadpool 2, they worked in the X-Men cast and stuff like that.
Oh, I know.
So, yeah.
So why wouldn't they, you know...
I hadn't even thought of that.
There's been reshoots, you know, they've been doing reshoots. I'm sure if they thought of this, I think we're going to get something in the end credit tag that's going to be new and unique and PG-13.
That would be funny.
Because they've got Dark Phoenix coming out. You know, but I think you're right. I think that it's not everybody. I wouldn't want to see different versions of movies.
I agree.
But the idea that there's a different version of Deadpool seems right somehow. It's like so.
And doing it PG-13.
And for Cancer, and because Cancer plays such a large role in the character. I mean, he's dying of cancer until he became Deadpool. And
right.
We saw his cancer come back with a fierceness in Deadpool 2.
Yep.
That the character is so... You know, my grandmother died of breast cancer, and before she passed away, she was really active in the Children's Hospital in Seattle, which is one of the premier cancer facilities.
Right.
And they all cancer needs as much money as it can get to finance the
fight. Yeah.
It's going to kill us all eventually. So I think it's really cool that a studio is doing this.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
So
it's cool on so many different levels. All right, let's move on now to the next topic we're going to talk about here today. Now, you and I got into a discussion once on an earlier episode of The Weekly Hero, in an earlier edition, about you had this absolutely ludicrous notion that Avengers 4 doesn't even need trailers, doesn't need a marketing campaign. We won't go into that.
I still believe it, John.
I know you do.
I still believe it.
I know you do.
I still do.
But here's the interesting thing. So we are now less... I mean, it snuck up on us, but we are now less than 6 months away from the release of Avengers 4. We are getting into that window of time. I am infamous for saying studios need to start shortening the windows from when their movies release to when they release trailers, and thankfully we are seeing that happen. That is a newer trend now. They are shortening those windows. But we're now within 6 months. I heard from somebody that I did not believe. I rejected it immediately. I heard from somebody that it would be at the end of November is when we were going to get our first thing. It would probably be with a football game, which is kind of consistent with the things Disney's been doing. But I still reject. I said, no. Then, like 1 week later, another report came out, and I would have rejected it too, except the details of this other report that came from some other sources sounded eerily like what I had heard, like almost exactly. Then I'm like, oh, and let's remember, Kevin Feige did say that the first trailer for Avengers 4 would drop before the end of the year. That only leaves us with two options, November or December. I mean, that's it. There's no third option left here.
Right.
So when do you think this Avengers 4 trailer is going to drop? And what are they going to show us? Because they've had differing approaches before. They have dropped first trailers that have been very much teaser trailers before. But I believe it was like Age of Ultron. Their first trailer came out guns blazing.
Right.
And we all buzzed about it. So when do you think this Avengers 4 trailer is going to come? And number two, when it does come, are they going to take the conservative approach of kind of an announcement or a teaser trailer first, or will they pull the Age of Ultron thing and come out guns blazing?
Good questions. Look, I still am of the camp. I will never. I don't think they need a trailer. I don't even want to see a trailer for Avengers 4.
I'm with you on that.
I don't want to
agree.
see one. I just don't want to see it. But okay. But that said, you're probably right. Cooler heads have prevailed. My ideas were obviously dismissed out of hand.
Radical ideas.
Because it is Disney after all, and they do need to tell people the movie's coming out. I think probably, look, the holiday movie season kicks off with the Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving, all the way through the end of the new year. And it makes sense that they're going to drop a trailer probably Thanksgiving, maybe on a football game. So they will be playing the trailer all the way through Christmas, and people can watch it because kids get out of school. They have more time to sit around on YouTube and look at things. So, yes, I think we're probably going to see one by Thanksgiving, if not that weekend or Turkey Day. Maybe it'll drop Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, or maybe even a week before. I don't know. Sometime then. But I think the trailer is going to be, I don't think it's going to come out guns blazing. I think it's going to give us a sense of where our characters are, like where the world is, like the world has changed. Because half of humanity is dead.
Gone, yeah.
And I do like the idea, I used to talk about this with Schnepp on Collider Heroes, about how we thought that wouldn't it be cool if the movie starts years after the snap?
Yeah.
You know, so
which is what I'm hoping they do.
That's what I've heard rumors to that effect. And if that is the case, what a cool way to set up a movie where these characters, there's just a sense of despair. Like they're still the Avengers, but what happens once you failed to prevent the biggest event, the biggest cataclysm in universal history?
Yeah.
Half the universe is gone, and they failed. So, I mean, that's got to be pretty bad. I mean, and so they're not going to be, if they show these characters fighting Thanos or in the midst of trying to win back the world, it's kind of going to tip their hand as to what they're doing. I think they're going to set up the idea of what they might do, whether it's time travel, whether it's going into the quantum realm, whatever it's going to be. We're going to get a taste of that, but I think it's going to be all set up. You're going to see a lot of sad heroes.
But you got to be careful. I like where your head's going with that, but you do have to be careful, though, at the same time, right? Because what's the name of the singer who sang that song, that female singer? In the arms of the angels.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember that singer's name.
Was it Sarah McLachlan?
Sarah McLachlan.
She's Canadian.
Then she is Canadian. I should have remembered that, of course. But what you also cannot have, though, is a 90-second cry fest.
Right.
And with Sarah McLachlan singing, everybody's just depressed and everybody's sad. And so you do have to be careful with that at the same time. Because, honestly, my head goes to a place where a lot of people online have been asking me about. It's like, do you show in this first trailer any of the dusted characters? And I'm not talking flashbacks. Because, look, we all know Spider-Man Far From Home is coming. But do you show Black Panther back? Do you show Spider-Man back? Because we know his movie's coming. Do you show, or do you just stick with the first trailer with the characters that survived the snap?
Again, a great question. I mean, we know they've shot flashbacks to the first Battle of New York because we've seen behind the scenes.
At least that's what we think they've done.
Yeah, we think they've done that. But wouldn't it be cool if they showed a la Back to the Future 2? If they showed us familiar scenes from past Marvel movies, and yet one of our remaining characters somehow shows up, like, I have to tell you something.
You got Tony and Ant-Man hiding behind a car, watching Tony and Captain America in the Battle of New York.
Who knows? And just because that would tip off kind of what's going to happen, but not really.
Right.
Something like that. The thing is, they know what they're doing. I mean, I put my trust in Kevin Feige. As
absolutely,
said. Yeah. He's the Lord and Savior of the comic book universe film. I think what they're going to do is going to be kick-ass. And I kind of, now that I know that a trailer's coming, I hate to say I really, 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 really want to see it.
Yeah. No,
Show me something.
I'm like you. Like, I don't even want to see it. But who am I kidding?
Right.
The moment that thing drops, I'm going to be on it. And just for the record, by the way, I really think they got to show some action. They got to have some upbeat stuff in this first trailer. But I'm of the belief that even though we all know Spider-Man Homecoming is coming, we all know that like Ryan Coogler just signed on to do Black Panther 2, so that's come. I think the first trailer, you cannot show us the dusted characters. Even if we know it's coming, just hold that till the second or third trailer.
I think it's a great idea because why give it away?
Yeah, I agree.
Unless they're flashbacks.
All right, guys. Well, listen, we got a couple of more things to talk about here, but before we get to those things, it is a tradition around here in our little paper, The Weekly Hero, for Robert Meyer Burnett, who is one of the great figure collectors in the world, to bring in a figure for us to ooh and awe at, and today is no exception. Robert, what have you brought us today?
Well, this is probably the douchiest figure that I have because everyone knows this is Ed 209 from the original 1987 Paul Verhoeven directed RoboCop. Now, this is the second Hot Toys Ed 209 figure that they made.
Really?
This is a substantially upgraded version from their original, and then this black rubber hood thing would always separate on the old version. It was not very good rubber. This was the second one that they did. Now, Ed 209, as we know, even in RoboCop, was an idiot. It was an ineffectual robot. It was a government boondoggle. Dick Jones and OCP, you know, they were going to try to sell this to the military, but it really didn't work. As Dick Jones says, who cares if it works or not? But it's really one of my favorite robots in any movie. It's a cool robot. It's a badass robot. I think one day
the figure looks amazing.
It's an amazing figure. It's the incredible detail in this figure. I love how beefy it is. You know, it's a big figure. I look at it and I always thought Ed 209 was kind of cool. I kind of try and forget that he basically fell down a staircase in the original RoboCop. I think one day they should do something or at least redeem the Ed 209. Redeem him and give him something to do and make him just less of perhaps the dumbest robot that ever appeared on screen, but still a badass looking figure. I mean, he's got removable missiles and everything moves and you can pose him, and it's just a great figure. And the reason I actually brought this week, I was not going to, but somebody really liked the Kaneda's bike from last week, and they're like,
everybody liked Kaneda's bike from last week. That was amazing.
Yeah, they loved it. And one kid said, well, I bet you don't have Ed 209 or something. Do you have Ed 209?
And you took that as a dare.
Yeah, and I'm like, come on, dude. Please. Yeah, so yes, here's Ed 209 in all of his glory. I love Ed 209. By the way, one day I should bring in the die-cast RoboCop figure that's incredible, who comes with his chair. You know how I feel about
Well, yes, you and your chair. Like, for those of you who don't know, like Robert's got this thing for his characters with chairs.
I love chairs.
He loves chairs with his characters.
When QMX made Captain Kirk's command chair from the original Star Trek, and you can plug it in with a USB and it lights up and makes noise, I was a happy man.
All right. Well, we will look forward to what you're going to bring us next week. And thanks again for bringing this in. This thing is amazing.
It's pretty cool.
One of the best things about my job is I get to sit here and look at all these toys that Robert brings in every week. This is amazing. All right. Let's get on to topic number 3 today. It was announced this week that Shazam, the upcoming DC film, has started and begun its process of reshoots. Now, there have been some rumors and speculation going around that a part of those reshoots was going to be Henry Cavill coming in and doing a Superman cameo, which you do in the reshoots. A couple of things give some validity to this. Number one, we know already that Warner Brothers had originally planned on having Henry Cavill do a cameo as Superman. Those plans got nixed, but we know that was their original plan. Something like reshoots is a very easy thing to film just a simple cameo with, so there's that as well. And it's something that a lot of people have been wondering and speculating. So, I mean, I said earlier, and I still believe, you're not crazy if you would believe this thing whatsoever. I don't think you'd be crazy. However, I still don't buy it. But let me ask you this, Robert. Number one, do you think they're two separate questions, really. Do you think they're going to shoot Henry Cavill being in this thing as Superman? And the second question, and maybe even more importantly, should they even do that? So there's the will they and the should they. What do you think?
Well, first of all, what a great way to keep Superman alive over at Warner Brothers. You know, there's no Superman movie on the schedule. There's no Batman movie. We don't know. Flash, who knows?
Yes, someday.
You know, you've got between Aquaman and you now have Wonder Woman 2 coming out in 2020. what better way to get people talking than to drop a Superman cameo into Shazam? You've got Henry Cavill is in, of course, Witcher.
Yep.
So he's probably in tip-top shape. You know, it's not like...
Because he's usually so slobby.
Yeah, he's not like Gerard Butler after 300 where he just let himself go before, you know, he fought Olympus and London is Falling, and now he's doing... But I think, look, I believe that... I always want to believe that the world should be a cool place to live. Wouldn't it be cool if Superman just showed up in Shazam? I mean, it would just be cool. And I can't be the only one who thinks this. And if he shows up and they butt heads or whatever it is. One of my favorite comics from the 70s is the Captain Thunder, which is a thinly veiled version of Superman who shows up in a Superman comic. And the cover is great. They're coming at each other because they didn't have the rights to say Shazam yet or Captain Marvel yet. And the idea that Superman and Shazam would meet on screen, I mean, in Kingdom Come, they have the greatest confrontation ever. Why not do it? Why not? If you can make it happen, but will it? I think it's a great way to keep the character alive in the films. I think people would love it. I want to believe. I'm like Fox Mulder. I want to believe.
I want to believe.
But I don't know, man. What do you think?
I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't. I think...
You're probably right.
You know, with all the reports coming out about Henry being departed and nobody having the guts...
They haven't confirmed it, though.
No, but here's the thing. Nobody has had the guts, not Cavill himself, and I hate saying that because I am a huge Henry Cavill fan.
Me too.
He is my favorite Superman of all time. I'm unapologetic about that. He's my favorite Superman of all time. I love Henry Cavill. But neither he nor his representation nor Warner Brothers themselves have had the guts to come out and say it officially, which we shouldn't be surprised about because Ben Affleck has been out as Batman for well over a year, and they still have not had the guts to come out and confirm that publicly. So be that as it may. And Warner Brothers had the opportunity to say, oh, no, these reports of him not being here are a little premature. No. What was their response? Warner Brothers' response was, while we currently have no plans for Superman, we enjoy working with Henry Cavill, and we still do. What the hell does that mean? So nobody's had the guts to come out and just lay it on the line for what it is. So unfortunately, as much as it pains my heart to say it, I do not believe they're going to do it. And I don't think they should do it. And it also pains me, but here's why I don't think they should. I don't think they should because it's becoming clear to us as comic book movie fans that Warner Brothers is, if not rebooting, they are steering in a new direction, right? You just mentioned, you put out this laundry list. Still no Batman on the books.
Right.
Although we know it's coming, but still no Batman on the books. They've already said they have no plans for Superman. Flash has had 3 different release dates suggested, and it still just keeps being pushed out. But what are we getting? We're getting Aquaman. We're getting Shazam, which I'm really looking forward to. And the biggest success they've had under Patty Jenkins, they're getting Wonder Woman 84. And so if Walter Hamada's plan here is to kind of take things in a new direction with plans and machinations that only he knows and we don't know, if that's the plan, then you can't bring Superman into a cameo. That's actually taking a step backwards from what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Your logic is sound.
Yeah, it doesn't make me happy.
No.
It doesn't make me happy at all. But but if that's the plan, then I don't think they will. And I don't think they should.
I can't argue with that. And you know what? If they made another Justice League movie and substituted Superman with Shazam, that could be interesting.
Which I'm telling you, I'm not going to fall out of this chair with shock if they do.
No,
not only that, I'm going to tell you right now, I will set an over-under number right now at as high as 20%. That the next time we see a Justice League movie, not only will it not have Superman, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to have Batman.
Well, it does.
And I'll go as high as 20% on that.
Yeah, all bets are off. I mean, I'm really curious to see what Aquaman does. I don't think I've ever been
dying for that movie.
I'm more curious to see just because it looks so outlandish to me. I mean, people always say, "Wow, what do you mean it looks outlandish?" I mean, it looks so far into the fantasy
fantastical
realm.
kind of way.
So, and people are, what about Asgard? What about the Guardians of the Galaxy? Yes, but there is a tonal issue with Aquaman that I just can't wait to see. Armored sharks, and all this. It just looks so much fun. It looks to me, as long as it works. I mean, that's why I'm like, is it going to work? And Shazam looks equally as fun to me.
Oh, Shazam! I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think the Shazam trailer was absolutely perfect for Shazam.
Yeah,
because the thing you and I talked about this once. There are about a dozen ways Shazam could go sideways.
Right,
about a dozen ways, and they put out a trailer that just made me go, they did it. They did it. They nailed it, and no one's not everybody loved it, but no one's scoffing at it.
No.
And I thought they really crushed it.
There's something really primal, I think, because we as young boys, I mean, maybe young girls too are the same now because they have Wonder Woman, we always imagined and played with our friends occasionally what it would be like to be a superhero.
Oh, yeah.
It was something that was so primal.
Dude, we've all done it within the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's true. I do it pretty much every day with my Hot Toys figures, which is unfortunately true. But it's like when I first saw the trailer for Paranormal Activity, and you saw that at night when they're looking at the night vision through the bedroom door opens, I'm like, okay, everybody in the world is going to go see Paranormal Activity because everybody in the world has once wondered, is there really a monster in my closet? Yep. We have grown up, just like we've all grown up wondering or what it would be like to be a superhero. And this movie appeals to that primal thing that we all feel. Like, who doesn't want to see that? Who doesn't want to see that? If I could have been a superhero when I was a teenager, everybody in the world thinks that, or their favorite baseball star, whatever they wanted to be. But this gets right into that primal childhood thing, and I think everyone's going to see it.
There are two words, I should say, that really sum up why I'm so excited for Aquaman. Now, I'm excited about Jason Momoa. I'm excited about the trailer, all that kind of stuff, but two words, James Wan.
Yes.
James Wan. I mean, that's all you had to say to me to get me excited about what he could do in a world like that. I'm saying, by the way, that Paranormal Activity trailer, I remember very few movies give me the creeps. Like even great horror movies, I just have fun with, but I don't legitimately get creeps. The Descent and American Werewolf in London are a totally different story. But I remember the trailer for Paranormal Activity, the shot where it's black and white, it's night, where they're laying in bed and you see her leg lift up like somebody's grabbing her leg and drags her out of bed and down the floor. That freaked the hell out of me. So totally side topic there, but whatever.
But it's that primal thing.
Yep.
And I think that superheroes in general, I think the reason they've become so popular on screen is because especially the Marvel Cinematic Universe has made us believe that a superhero could exist in our world.
Right.
And that's what we want. We want superheroes. And there's just something, and to know Shazam's the ultimate example of that. One day, you too could be imbued with magical powers, and you could say Shazam and turn from Billy Batson into Captain Marvel. Well, we can't say Captain Marvel anymore. He is now called Shazam.
He is now called Shazam. One day, you can be on a public bus and run into Jaimon Hansu,
right,
who will bestow upon you the mystic powers of the ancients.
He better be in Gladiator 2, by the way. Just saying.
Ooh, that he could. All right, let's go on to our final topic here today. Now, we are getting closer to the end of the year. We've had our most, Aquaman notwithstanding, we've had our most major comic book films come out this year.
Yes.
In particular, we're looking at Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War. We are now getting into what they call Oscar season, where a lot of the Oscar hopeful films are coming out. I've had a number of people asking me online, and I'm sure you have too, about, John, what are the real chances that as we get into the Oscars, right, because we're in the Oscar season now, that one of the comic book movies, and really we all know we're talking about Black Panther and Infinity War, can be up for one of the major awards. The Black, because such and such is my favorite movie of the year and blah, blah, blah. So let me ask you that, Robert. Like, we've had a couple of absolutely magnificent comic book films this year. I really liked Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I mean, particularly we're talking about Black Panther, we're talking about Infinity War. They were great.
Right.
Were they Oscar greats? And let me split the question up again. Do you think either one of these two films can get the big nominations? Director, actor, actress, best picture, and then on top of that, if you were an Academy voting member, would they get those nominations? What do you say?
No.
To which one?
I think,
woulda or could or shoulda?
I don't think. Here's the thing about comic book movies to me, is they're ultimately, by definition, they have to be formulaic. You're dealing with comic book characters that are well established. The MCU is following a pattern that was first set by Marvel in their comic books. So their stories, while on screen, are amazing. The fact that they've transcended the barrier from going to the printed page to the movie screen in grand fashion is amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But aside from a movie like Logan, which they transposed genres, they basically turned it into a Western.
I still think it was the best movie of 2017, by the way.
Incredible film. But even Logan, which is, to me, in my mind, the closest a comic book movie or comic book movie subject matter has ever come to an Oscar caliber movie. I don't think that Black Panther the representation was amazing. There's a whole generation of people that never saw that kind of representation of themselves up on the big screen. That is to be lauded. That's an amazing thing that happened. But was the story transcendent? Does it become universal? Does it become a timeless story for the ages? I don't think so. It still ultimately was a comic book movie that is still it's a great comic book film, but I don't think it's an Oscar caliber film. But I think it's the closest any of the other movies come. The person that I would think, and this is going to be he'll never get this award, I would nominate Josh Brolin. I think he should be the first actor that should get for performance capture. Andy Serkis should have got some kind of a nod for the work he's done as Gollum and Caesar in the Planet of the Apes
particularly
films.
Caesar.
Yes. Amazing, just amazing stuff. But between Cable, Thanos, and Sicario: Day of the Soldado, but specifically Thanos, the fact that he brought that much gravitas and weight. Look, nobody is going to vote for a character who's bald, purple, and has a scrotum for their chin. No one's ever going to do that. But if they did, I think what he brought, the pathos and emotion that he brought to that character that could have... Infinity War works as well as it does because of Thanos.
Right. And it was really constructed around him completely. I mean, it had to. It was the absolute linchpin of all that.
If he wasn't the compelling actor, and if he didn't make Thanos and give him the scenes with young Gamora and the scenes when he casts her out over the pit with red skulls, standing there, spoiler alert, red skulls in the movie. That to me was one of the most affecting emotional moments in all of 2018. I couldn't believe he did it.
Yeah, when Skull says to him, "The tears are not for him," or something like that. It's like,
yeah. And I mean, I hate to say it, but Infinity War has some of the most affecting Spider-Man saying, I don't want to go, Mr. Stark.
Yeah.
I mean, that movie, I can't stop watching that movie, and it gets me every time. I get choked up, like when Spock dies in Star Trek 2.
Oh,
I get choked up.
The needs of the many. So here's the thing. I am forced to absolutely agree with you on both counts. Number one, neither of those films are going to get any of the major award nominations.
A lot of technical awards, probably.
Many technical awards. Sound, in particular. Like, every time I watch Infinity War, more and more, the sound design of that movie is crazy. Like, absolutely nutty. But at the same time, I'm going to go right back to what you said. Neither Black Panther, which I loved, or Avengers Infinity War, which I loved, neither one of them transcend its own genre in any way. I mean, not like what Logan did, not like what The Dark Knight did. Like, neither of those films, I believe, are on that level. They are great, magnificent comic book films that I had so much fun with, and I love them. Should a comic book movie get one of the major awards? Yes, last year, Logan should have been nominated for Best Picture. In my opinion, should have won, but whatever. It should have gotten nomination. It was the Best Picture of the year, in my opinion. But I don't think either of the films that came out this year, when I say either, there were others, but the only two anybody's going to take seriously are Black Panther and Infinity War.
Right.
I don't think either of them would be up for those. I myself wouldn't nominate them for either one of those ones. But technical awards, yes. And I think more importantly, though, here's the fun thing. It used to be that to even entertain these discussions was just pure folly.
Right.
Like, back in the day, talking about a comic book movie getting a real Oscar.
Yeah.
Like, what? There was folly. Today, no, they're real discussions. They're real conversations we have to have. When Logan comes out and becomes the first comic book movie to get a screenplay nomination at the Academy Awards, we are now, and you've got movies like Infinity War and Black Panther and these level of movies coming out. Now, maybe they're not winning those Oscars, but now the conversation's legit.
Right.
And we see this constant evolution and growing of the genre. This is a genre that continues to evolve, that continues to get better and better and better. There are comic book movies today that we would go, oh yeah, that was okay. But if that comic book movie had come out 7 years ago, we'd been like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But that is, again, just another indication of the maturation of the whole genre. And guess what? Maybe it's not this year, but we are not far away from a comic book movie getting some of those major nominations.
I couldn't agree with you more. And people have to remember that the Academy, the members of the Academy are getting more diverse all the time.
Yes.
But they are still predominantly a group of older people.
Right.
That still, I think, have a prejudice against comic book films, science fiction films, all flights of fancy, cinefantastique, whatever you want to call it. Some of it's penetrated into the mainstream, but for the most part, not quite yet. And I think we're going to get one day. Look, I thought Arrival was one of my favorite films of last year. I thought it was a deeply affecting film. I thought it was one of the best science fiction movies made in a long, long, long time. And that didn't get the kind of nominations or recognition I thought it should have. But people are there's still a prejudice against this. It's not considered real or as important as, Amadeus or Out of Africa.
I don't know that I necessarily agree. I mean, I agree to a point, but like you and I, who have no prejudice against comic book movies, even you and I just together said we wouldn't nominate Black Panther or things, right? So I don't think there's so much of a prejudice against comic book movies as I believe what is still lingering there in some of the Academy, and I know they're changing.
Right.
What is lingering is a prejudice for other types of films.
That's a good point.
Yeah, not so much as they're against, because believe me, all these Academy people are industry people. These movies are bringing in money,
sure,
and all people love this, but I think it's more of a prejudice for other certain types of films. But like you so accurately pointed out, this is an Academy that is now evolving and changing. We've gotten heaps new membership going in every year, younger, more diverse, all that kind of stuff. And it's nothing but good. And it just goes back to what we were saying before, that it ain't long before one of these movies is deservingly going to come out, hit like a Dark Knight, like a Logan. They're going to hit again and more frequently. When they do, we're going to start seeing them get those nominations.
Just a final quick point I want to make too is that the studios are no longer making Oscar bait movies anymore.
As much.
The movies that used to win, Gandhi came out from Columbia Pictures.
By the way, still one of my favorite films.
It's a great film. That movie would never get made today. Even Amadeus.
Starring the Mandarin.
Oh, yeah, starring the Mandarin. The Mandarin.
The alleged Mandarin, yes.
But that's another thing, is that movie going has changed. And I think, you've got the indies, the indie or the smaller films that are competing because they're not trying to. It used to be the most popular movies also kind of made the most money. Now the most popular movies, like these films, as they say, are popcorn family spectacles, and they're not looking for that. You've got movies like Moonlight that did win Best Picture, was a really small character study, and it
with Ghost Rider. I'm just connecting all the comic book connections here.
But yeah, movie making is now evolving and changing. I just want to see Roma. Alfonso Cuarón's next film.
I still haven't seen it.
It hasn't come out yet. I want to see it in the theater.
But it's played at some festivals.
Right.
But everybody's losing their minds for it, so I also cannot wait to see it. All right, guys, listen. That will do it for all of our main topics today, but we like to take some of the questions you guys send in to us via Twitter. How do you send in a question via Twitter? It's easy. Just put out a question to be on The Weekly Hero. All you got to do is make sure you include in your tweet the hashtag The Weekly Hero. That's a hashtag The Weekly Hero. Put that in, and maybe you'll see your tweet pop up here on the show. So we got 4 tweets picked out here. Let's get over to the tweet board and see what we got. The first tweet comes to us from Lucien Anton, who writes, do you think that Michael Keaton could return as Bruce Wayne, but not Batman? Interesting. I've heard this type of question come up in 2 different contexts. Context number 1, the upcoming Joker film. On that context, we can definitively say no, because we know Bruce, they've already cast their Bruce Wayne, by the way. He's going to be a young little kid. The second context I always hear come up with is in the context of there are some people out there that want to see a Batman Beyond film.
Right.
I will also again say no. Batman Beyond, everybody gets mad at me when I talk about this, and that's fine. That's fine. We can all still be friends. But Batman Beyond is a small, obscure character that got canceled very early for a reason. My thing about Batman Beyond is this. While it has a small and loyal and ferocious in all the right ways, loyal following. The reality is this. You ask somebody, any average person anywhere, who's Batman? They ain't going to say, I forget the kid's name now. Terry McGinnis. They're not going to say Terry McGinnis. Right. If I go to the AMC Burbank 16 Theater right now, stand outside with a little clipboard, taking a poll, and interview filmgoers as they come out and say, who's Batman? I guarantee you 99.99%, if not 100% of them, they're going to say Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Batman is Bruce Wayne. And no, so I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think they should do it. I don't think that's something that makes money. I'm not, but people hear me say that I don't think they should do a Batman Beyond, and they think I'm crapping on Batman Beyond. I'm not. Look, my favorite show on television for the last number of years has been Supernatural. Ask me if I think they should do a Supernatural movie. No, it doesn't make business sense. It doesn't have a wide enough appeal, and I love Supernatural. I'm not crapping on Batman Beyond when I say you can't do a feature film of it at this point. I just don't think it makes business sense.
See, here's the thing. I would differ in the sense that this Joker movie looks to be the first of these standalone examinations of DC Elseworld stories. If you made a Batman Beyond movie and Michael Keaton played an aging Bruce Wayne, it would be huge.
Think so?
I think it would be huge because, look, Michael Keaton has come back with a vengeance, like after The Founder, where he played, Ray Kroc, and then after
what was
Birdman.
the newspaper one he was just in, that one Best Picture?
Oh,
Spotlight, which was so good.
And you look at where he's at, him playing a grizzled. Can you imagine the trailer for that movie? Like if it was just voiceover, and he's, I don't know, you hear music and he walks out on some rooftop, or even if he's with who's some great actor playing Commissioner Gordon, and then the two of them turn on the bat signel and it goes into the air. Remember, and then Terry McGinnis.
At this point, though, Batman's like in his 80s.
Well, yeah, but
Gordon is well gone.
But yes, but I mean, they could make it. It could be a grizzled. I don't know.
Right.
But you just maybe Gordon is gone, and only Bruce Wayne knows that this bat signal.
At this point, you'd have to get Clint Eastwood to play Batman.
But I think you could make Bruce Wayne in his 60s or 70s, the aging Bruce Wayne, and he turns on that bat signal, and then Terry McGinnis just shows up, and that's your teaser. Batman Beyond. Come on. Who wouldn't see that?
I know. You know where you had me? See, you put a grizzled, bulked up Michael Keaton, 60 years old, blah, 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 and you bring up the title screen, The Dark Knight Returns. That gets everybody excited. I just don't know that everybody gets nearly as excited. It's like, oh, he's back as Batman. Oh, he's not Batman. It's Taron Egerton is Batman playing somebody named Terry Giddens. You do that exact same thing you just described, and then you have him put the cowl back on, and Dark Knight Returns. Then you got a stampede going to the theater.
I don't disagree with you there either, but I do think it'd be possible to do a one-off.
It'd be interesting to see.
Everybody would love to see a Dark Knight Returns film, and to do it if this Joker movie works. Why the hell not do it with Joaquin Phoenix?
Well, because Joker's still out.
I know. It wouldn't work as the timeline and all that. I get it.
But you could be right. You could be right. There could be possibilities there that maybe I'm just not seeing. All right, what's the next tweet? And the next tweet today comes us from Bulma Trunks, who writes, "Hey guys, was wondering in Infinity War, how does Bruce Banner quickly knows knowledge of Thanos after his beatdown from him, plus Thor knowing knowledge of him taking the Power Stone and Xandar? How would he know so fast? Both were dealing with Hela." Well, with the Banner thing, that is a question I've had, because in Thor Ragnarok, Bruce had no recollection of any of his time as the Hulk with his time on, why am I freezing on the name of the planet he was on? Sakaar.
Yeah.
He had no knowledge of his planet. Like he came back, he was like, where am I? What's going on? Like, so why would he suddenly now know what Hulk just went through fighting Thanos, right? So that is a legit question. I have no answer to that, to be honest with you. What do you think?
Well, first of all, here's my answer, and it's kind of a cop-out. But we don't know. When we see Thanos' ship arrive after the credits in Ragnarok, we don't know how long the Asgardian refugee ship has been in space. They could have been going to Xandar. They could have been on their way going to Xandar, and they hear that, because Thor says Xandar was attacked a week ago, and they were decimated by Thanos. Maybe that's where Thanos was before he intercepted the Asgardian ship.
Remember, the Asgardian ship was on its way to Earth.
Right, yeah. Right. They were on its way to Earth, wherever they were going, but maybe they were going to make a stop. Maybe Xandar. True. We don't know where Scar is in relation to, maybe they had to go to Xandar for a reason. They're going to Earth. They're going to get there eventually. But I think that from the time the credits start rolling to the time the credits end rolling in Ragnarok, there's a lot of time that's gone by.
That's true, yeah.
They're going to catch up and go, where are we? What's going on? The Asgardians are probably checking in with a lot of people that know them. You know, the different realms are like, if Asgard's destroyed, the Nova Corps would be somebody who might need to know that.
Right.
So maybe they would check into to Xandar and go here. And then Thor's like, what the hell? And when they find out Xandar's decimated, Thor says a week. So there's a time. And Thor's like, well, let me tell you a story of Thanos and the Infinity Stones, and let me tell you all these things. That's how come Bruce Banner knows all that stuff.
Well, but here's the other problem, though. When in the movie, Bruce was terrified in Ragnarok. He was terrified of turning back into the Hulk because he said, hey, if I turn back into the Hulk, I don't think I'm coming back.
Right.
I don't think I'm coming back. But then, you know, everything was on the line. He became Hulk again. He was Hulk. The last we saw him on the ship with Thor and them at the end of the movie. Then he was Hulk when Thanos shows up, right? So I don't know that we have any realistic expectation that he turned from Hulk back into Bruce that we just didn't see. And then when Thanos attacked the ship, then he turned back into Hulk again. So that's a big jump there. With the Thanos, or not with the Thanos, with the Thor thing, though, I think you're right. I think, look, all we know is at the end of Ragnarok in the post-credits, we see Thanos' ship show up. Between when that happens and when we pick it up with Avengers Infinity War, he could have been laying siege to that ship for a week. There could have been a week long. Remember, half of the Asgardians got off the ship and left, and we never saw that happen either.
Right.
But we know half of Asgard escaped with Valkyrie.
Yeah,
with Valkyrie got off as well. So you can explain the Thanos one. There's a lot of time there Thanos could understand and figure out what happened. The Bruce Banner one, though, that is more perplexing to me.
Well, look, I think that Bruce Banner, I don't think he had a real problem with not being the Hulk. I mean, I understand, but as soon as the Asgardians were under attack, I think Hulk would come back. I think the reason,
but we never saw him turn back into Bruce after he became Hulk. That's
true,
problem.
But I don't see that. I just see that as once they left the planet and were on the ship and everything was going, I could see him turning back into Banner and figuring that doesn't bother me as much. But look, after he gets his horrible beat down by Thanos, no wonder Hulk doesn't want to come back out again.
Right.
I mean, he was humiliated.
And according to the Russo brothers, is now sick and tired of trying to come out and fix everybody else's problems.
Right, which I love.
I can't wait to see them explore that more.
I can't either.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. And the next tweet comes us from J. Alejandro Tapia, who writes, what's up, guys? With rumors that the James Gunn will be doing a reboot of Suicide Squad, what do you guys think this has in store for the DC film universe, the DCFU under James Gunn? Well, yeah, I've heard them say it's going to be a reboot. I don't think it is going to be our traditional understanding of reboot.
Right.
I think what it means is you're going to see some new members of the team. They're going to kind of start it from scratch in a way, but I still think it's going to be in continuity with what they've done before. At least that's what I think at that point. And look, I'll just tell you what. When we heard the report coming out of the Hollywood Reporter that every single studio in Hollywood was lining up and offering James Gunn their biggest high-profile projects, and the notion came over us all that, what if he goes over to Warner Brothers and does a DC film? I thought he would have been a good fit for Flash. I actually thought Gunn would have been. But then when they said Suicide Squad, I was like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That could be ridiculously cool. So look, I don't know how far they're going to go with this reboot thing, but I love what he's got in store, whatever it is.
Well, Suicide Squad made a lot of money.
Yes, it did.
You think that
$700-800 million in that neighborhood?
You think those actors aren't going to come back? You think
of course
the studio's going to be like, well, yes, you're coming back. I mean, the ones that survived, but of course. And I think a reboot could mean, let's tell a better story. Let's tell a more focused story. Let's concentrate on what the Suicide Squad really is.
Right.
The Dirty Dozen. You go back to those things, and you're not fighting some mystical enchantress character it's not Ghostbusters. Basically, they were fighting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
in
that movie. I mean, you've got to do something. You need to make the Suicide Squad kick ass and cool. You've got to give them a threat where they can scrap, where they can fight, where they can kick some real ass, not fight against some weird
jiggly woman.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, I did enjoy Suicide Squad. It is a hot mess of a movie, but I had fun with it. But here's one of my biggest kind of problems walking out of it. In the ad campaign leading up with the trailers and everything, you got Amanda there saying, we need these super-powered beings. We need these metahumans to fight metahumans and blah, blah, blah. Well, what is the Suicide Squad? It's a girl with a baseball bat.
Right.
It's a dude with a boomerang. It's a guy who's just got really good aim with a gun.
Right.
I mean, there you had Killer Croc, who is metahuman, and you had, what did they call the fire guy? What was his name again? El Diablo? Is it Diablo?
Diablo.
You had him. Other than those two guys, everybody else. You had a girl with a sword. Granted, it was a magic sword, but it's still just a girl with a sword, a girl with a bat,
Katana.
A guy with really good aim, and a guy with a boomerang. Where's this whole, we need metahumans to fight metahumans?
Yeah, that movie is so all over the map. And for me as an editor myself, I can't even watch the editing in
was
that
the
film.
weakest part.
They had a trailer company. Trailer cutting is nothing like narrative editing, and it just doesn't work. It's hard to watch that film.
All right, final tweet of the day. And our final tweet today comes us from John DiGregorio, who writes, do you think with Deadpool getting re-released as a PG-13 movie is Ryan Reynolds' way of testing the waters to see what a Deadpool movie would look like with a PG-13 rating? Absolutely not. This goes back to something that I think a lot of film fans have an erroneously huge wrong perception of how much power and say the movie stars have.
Right.
I'll tell you right now, Ryan Reynolds has got none of that power. Ryan Reynolds does not
except with Deadpool.
Well, I mean, he could say no to a Deadpool or whatever, but he doesn't have the power to go to a studio and say, we're putting a new Deadpool movie together, and we're going to put it in theaters and blah, 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 and Fox is going to go, wait a minute, who are you? And they would have security escort him out of the room. And I love Ryan, a good Canadian kid, but he doesn't have that power to pull that together. No, I don't believe this is this is a good way for us to test out if a PG-13. No, because they're going to be making fun of the PG-13 stuff.
Right.
I guarantee you this entire thing is going to be them making fun of the PG-13ness of it. I don't think it has anything to do with that, to be honest, and I cannot wait to see it.
Well, first of all, both Deadpool movies basically made $750 million worldwide. You're talking a $1.5 billion franchise. No one's going to come in and go, well, Deadpool 3 has to be PG.
Yeah, no.
I mean, the entire raison d'etre of that franchise is the fact that it's so irreverent, and is the fact that it has so many off-color jokes to tell. I mean, there's some really blue stuff in those movies. I mean, and even I want to celebrate National Women's Day the way he does.
That to me is the most. The most.
I've never heard of a superhero movie going in the jokes. If you slow that movie down and really listen to some of those jokes, it's amazing what they got. There's some NC-17 humor in that movie, which I love. They're not going to go. Disney is either going to put Deadpool in a X-Force film, or they'll do it in an X-Force movie and they'll let him wisecrack like he does, or they'll just be like, it's a Fox film, and Disney will tell their shareholders that Deadpool, don't you want it to make another $750 million? Because everybody wants that.
Now, Bob Iger has said that, and I believe the direct quote was, I believe there's room for R-rated movies in our universe. Now, a lot of people go, Bob Iger said it's going to happen. That means it's going to happen. No. That wasn't Bob Iger committing to doing that.
Right.
But it did at least open a crack in the door that I never thought would be there. Even the possibility that Bob Iger would for a moment consider bringing in Deadpool, letting him stay R, and not having him in a separate movie universe, but actually let him be a part of the MCU. And to hear him say, I think there may be room for R-rated stuff as long as I think what he said then is as long as we clearly communicate to our audience what their expectations should be. Again, I don't know that means he's going to do it, but the fact that he's considering it,
right?
I mean, isn't that kind of nutty?
Well, it is nutty, and I think that they've probably already thought, they've had to think long and hard as a company, what is Disney doing? And just because they've bought Fox, I think they've retained a lot of the great Fox executives.
Yes, they did.
Nancy Utley from Fox Searchlight was brought over. A lot of their great executives have been kept in place. They want Fox to succeed. It makes them look good. It's like, look, they didn't buy Lucasfilm and then they decided, we're going to put Mickey Mouse in the Star Wars universe.
Right.
They're not going to do that. They want to retain these things. The reason they want to buy them is because they want to keep them successful. I don't think we're going to see, some G-rated Predator movie if they keep making Predator films.
Not after the last one.
They're not going to make Xenomorph movies where people don't, have chest bursters in their chests. They're either going to not make those movies or they're going to keep making them because they need to justify the expense. They've spent a lot of money to acquire Fox, a lot more money than they've ever spent on anything else before. And that's going to they got to come up with some cheddar.
But a lot of things we got to remember too, because I think I forget this a lot as well, is that Disney did not buy Fox to buy those movie properties. The movie properties, and a lot of us film fans forget that their actual main purposes were for some other things. The movie properties and things like that were secondary, but nice benefits, and we'll just have to see how that
they wanted the library is what was important.
Yeah, the library.
The whole back catalog for their streaming service.
The IP that they could develop for the streaming service, all that kind of stuff as well. Well, listen, guys, we have now turned the final page on this issue of The Weekly Hero. Again, it was hot off the presses. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Listen, don't forget, tweet those things out to us. Just include the hashtag The Weekly Hero. Maybe you'll see your tweet pop up on the next episode. I, of course, want to thank the one, the only, the great Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, thanks again for bringing in the Ed 209. Where can people find you?
You can find me actually on Instagram at RM Burnett, on Twitter at BurnettRM, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, where, yes, you will finally be able to see the first episode of Robservations that I call Middle-Age Cosplay.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. And of course, you guys can follow me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. That'll do it for Robert. That'll do it for me. That'll do it for Baby Groot here. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. And until next time, bye-bye.